Hello, my besties and amoras, choosing happiness and sacrifice in relationships, a biblical perspective. Hello, everyone, welcome back to my vlog. Today, we're going to explore a topic that many of us grapple with, choosing between our own happiness and sacrificing for the well-being of others, particularly in the context of relationships. It's a complex issue, but when we look to the Bible, we find wisdom and guidance on how to navigate this tension. So let's dive in. Ephesians 5 verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So this verse highlights the sacrificial love husbands are called to have for their wives, mirroring Christ's selfless love for the church. It reminds us that love often requires sacrifice and selflessness. For example, imagine a husband who willingly gives up his own desires to support and care for his wife's needs. He demonstrates sacrificial love just as Christ did for the church. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25 teaches us that sacrificial love is an essential aspect of healthy relationships. So by prioritizing the well-being and happiness of our loved ones, we express true love and commitment. Philippians chapter 2 verses 3 to 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of the others. So this passage encourages us to prioritize the interests and well-being of others above our own. It emphasizes selflessness and considering the needs of others. So consider a situation where you have the opportunity to choose between your own happiness and the happiness of someone you love. Philippians chapter 2 verses 3 through 4 challenges you to put their interest above your own, practicing selflessness in your own decision making. So Philippians chapter 2 verses 3 through 4 reminds us that true love requires us to set aside our own desires and prioritize the well-being of others. So by doing so, we create a foundation of selflessness and mutual care in our relationships. Another verse, my best, is Matthew chapter 22 verse 39, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus teaches us to love our neighbors, including our family members, as ourselves. This command challenges us to prioritize the happiness and well-being of others, even at the expense of our own desires. Think about a parent, who dedicates their life to providing a complete family for their children, even if it means sacrificing their own personal happiness. They exemplify the sacrificial love taught in Matthew chapter 22 verse 39. So this verse, my besties, encourages us to extend sacrificial love to our family members, valuing their happiness and well-being as much as our own. So it reminds us that love involves selflessness and putting others first. See, balancing personal happiness and sacrifice. While these verses emphasize sacrificial love and considering the happiness of others, it's important to note that they don't disregard our own happiness. So the Bible teaches us to find a balance between sacrificial love and our own well-being. Prioritizing the happiness of others, such as our children, in the context of a complete family can bring blessings and fulfillment. However, it's crucial to ensure our own well-being and happiness as well. Seeking God's guidance and wisdom helps us navigate this balance, making choices that honor both our own happiness and that of our loved ones. So as we conclude this vlog, let's remember that choosing happiness and sacrificing for the well-being of others can coexist. So the Bible teaches us the importance of sacrificial love and considering the needs of others, but it also reminds us that our own happiness and well-being matter. So by seeking God's guidance and wisdom, we can find a balance that allows us to prioritize both our own happiness and the happiness of those we love. So let's strive to love sacrificially, considering the needs of others while also embracing the joy and fulfillment that come from a life aligned with God's purpose. So when facing a situation where one spouse no longer respects the other, it can be challenging and painful. While it's important to seek guidance from the Bible and rely on its teachings, it is also essential to recognize that each situation is unique, and seeking wise counsel from trusted individuals, such as a pastor or counselor, can be beneficial. So in regard to the question about continuing a marriage without respect, the Bible provides guidance on marriage and relationships. Highlighting the importance of love, respect, and mutual submission. So let's explore a few relevant passages. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 33, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So this verse emphasizes the mutual responsibilities within a marriage. Husbands are called to love their wives, and the wives are called to respect their husbands. Respect is recognized as a significant aspect of a healthy and loving relationship. So 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. So this verse speaks specifically to husbands, urging them to treat their wives with respect and consideration. It emphasizes the importance of honoring and valuing one's spouse. So while these passages emphasizes the significance of respect within marriage, it's essential to acknowledge that the Bible also recognizes the reality of brokenness and sin in human relationships. In cases where there is a lack of respect, it is essential to seek reconciliation, forgiveness, and restoration if possible. However, my besties, it's also important to note that the Bible does acknowledge that there are circumstances where separation or divorce may be necessary, such as in cases of abuse, infidelity, or ongoing patterns of disrespect. So in such situations, seeking professional help and guidance from trusted individuals is essential or crucial to ensuring one's safety and well-being. Ultimately, my besties, it is a personal decision that requires prayer, seeking God's guidance, and seeking wise counsel from those who are spiritually mature and experienced. It's important to prioritize your safety, well-being, and the well-being of any children involved. Remember, God desires healthy, loving, and respectful relationships. So if you find yourself in a situation where respect is lacking, seek God's guidance, pray for wisdom, and seek the support and counsel of trusted individuals who can help guide you in making the best decision for your specific circumstances. Also, my best is when it comes to the idea that happiness is a choice, it is important to consider the context and dynamics of relationships, especially in situations where there is control, manipulation, and disrespect. The Bible speaks to the importance of sacrificial love and the well-being of others, but it also addresses the need for healthy relationships and the value of individual well-being. So, my best is, if a husband exhibits controlling and manipulative behavior, it is essential to prioritize the safety and well-being of all family members, including yourself and your children. While sacrificial love is important, it is not meant to be a justification for enduring abuse or allowing harmful behavior to continue. My best is, the Bible provides guidance on seeking justice, setting boundaries, and promoting healthy relationships. So let's explore a few relevant passages. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. While this verse speaks to husbands' sacrificial love, it is important to note that Christ's love for the church is characterized by selflessness, respect, and care. It does not encompass control or manipulation. Proverbs 22 verse 3, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. So this verse highlights the importance of recognizing danger and taking appropriate action to protect oneself and others. It encourages wisdom and discernment, my best is in identifying harmful situations. Galatians chapter 5 verse 1, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. This verse reminds us that as believers in Christ, we are called to live in freedom. This includes freedom from abusive or controlling relationships. It encourages us to stand firm and not allow ourselves to be burdened by harmful situations. So in situations where there is control, manipulation, and disrespect, seeking help from trained professionals or counselors or support groups can be essential in determining the best course of action. It is important to prioritize the well-being and safety of yourself and your children. So while sacrificial love is commendable, it should not be at the expense of one's own happiness and well-being. You see, God desires healthy, loving, and respectful relationships, and He does not condone or desire for anyone to endure abuse or harm. Remember, seeking help and support is not a sign of weakness, but a courageous step toward healing and restoration. Pray for guidance. My best is seek wise counsel and take the necessary steps to ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and your children. God's desire is for you to live in love, peace, and freedom. The Bible acknowledges that marriage is a sacred covenant and encourages couples to work through difficulties and seek reconciliation whenever possible. You see, divorce is not God's ideal plan for marriage as stated in passages such as Malachi 2 verse 16. However, the Bible also recognizes that there are circumstances where separation or divorce may be necessary due to the presence of sin and brokenness in relationships. So in cases involving abuse, control, and manipulation and disrespect, it is essential to prioritize safety, well-being, and the best interest of all family members involved, including yourself and your children. So while divorce should never be entered into lightly, it may be a valid option to protect oneself and seek safety and healing. So Matthew chapter 19 verse 6, so they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So this verse emphasizes the permanence of marriage, highlighting the importance of honoring the sacred covenant. However, it does not address situations of abuse or harm. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 15, but if the unbeliever leaves, let it be so. The brother or the sister is not bound in such circumstances. God has called us to live in peace. So this verse acknowledges that in cases where an unbelieving spouse chooses to leave, the believer is not bound to maintain the marriage. It implies that living in peace is a priority. So when faced with abusive and harmful situations, seeking guidance from trusted pastors, counselors, or professionals who specializes in domestic violence is crucial. They can provide support. They can provide insight, wisdom tailored to your specific circumstances. So ultimately, the decision to divorce is deeply, deeply personal and should be made with careful consideration, prayer, seeking wise counsel, and prioritizing the well-being and safety of all involved. So remember that God's desire is for you to live in love, peace, and freedom. And seeking professional help can assist in navigating through the complexities of such situations. So my best is the topics we tackled today, I apologize if there appears to be like a contradiction between the two topics. The first topic discussed the idea that happiness is a choice, while the second topic addressed the question of divorce in cases of abuse, control, and disrespect. So it is important to approach these topics with nuance and balance. So understanding that each situation is unique, okay, and requires a careful consideration, the Bible teaches the importance of sacrificial love, seeking reconciliation, and prioritizing the well-being of others. However, it also acknowledges the presence of sin and brokenness in relationships and provides guidance for seeking safety, justice, and healing. So when it comes to the topic of divorce, it is essential to recognize that the Bible presents a range of teachings, okay, and principles. So while divorce is not God's ideal plan for marriage, it may be a necessary step in cases where there is ongoing abuse, danger, or unrepentant sin, infidelity, etc. Okay, so the decision to divorce should be made with prayer, seeking guidance from trusted spiritual leaders and professionals, and also considering the well-being and safety of all people involved. So it is important to remember that the overarching message of the Bible is one of love, grace, and redemption. God desires healthy, loving, and respectful relationships, and He calls us to seek justice, guidance, peace, and healing in difficult circumstances. When approaching these two topics through a biblical lens, we can find a balanced perspective that takes into account both the concept of choosing happiness and the consideration of divorce in cases of abuse, control, and disrespect. So here's a way, okay, to address these topics. Choosing happiness, the Bible teaches us that true and lasting happiness is ultimately found in our relationship with God. It is a result of aligning our lives with His purposes and seeking His guidance. We are called to choose joy and contentment in all circumstances, recognizing that our happiness is not solely dependent on external factors, okay, or other people. So here are a few biblical principles to consider. Philippians chapter 4 verses 12 through 13. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. So this verse reminds us that our contentment and happiness come from our reliance on God's strength and His provision, rather than external circumstances. Psalm chapter 37 verse 4, take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. By delighting in the Lord, okay, seeking His will and aligning our desires with His, we can experience true happiness and fulfillment. So divorce in cases of abuse, control, and disrespect. So while divorce is not God's ideal plan for marriage, the Bible also acknowledges the presence of sin and brokenness in relationships. So in cases of abuse, control, and disrespect, it is essential to prioritize the safety, well-being, and healing of all individuals involved. So Matthew chapter 19 verse 6, so they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So this verse emphasizes the sanctity of marriage and the importance of commitment. However, it should not be used to justify enduring ongoing abuse or harmful behavior. Alright, my besties. So in addressing both topics, it is important to seek wisdom and discernment through prayer, studying the Word of God, and seeking guidance from trusted spiritual leaders and professionals. Alright. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Remember, love is a beautiful journey, and with God's guidance, we can navigate the complexities of relationships with wisdom and grace. Okay, so until next time, take care and God bless you all. Bye.